if we're talking about federal assistance, I didn't see my first FEMA truck until, what is today, Saturday? I didn't see my first FEMA truck until Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening. With no signage, no information. I don't know why they're there.
The word from the people that we talk to, and they say, when we say, who else has been here? Can we help? Maybe we can work together. They're like, you're the first ones, or the only other people that have helped us is another private, citizens that are just basically our neighbors or our friends trying to help us. They hadn't seen anyone from the federal government.
I've seen one helo come in, and I was told that was FEMA, and that was it.
Today was the first FEMA delivery that I've seen or I've heard of in the entire region.
Welcome to my channel, Outspoken Samantha. If you are new here, welcome. I do appreciate you clicking on the video to watch it, and since you are here, I would love it if you would help me to grow this channel and hit that subscribe button now, and make sure that your notifications are turned on so that you never miss an upload or a live stream. And of course, to those of you that are returning, you know how much I truly do appreciate your continued support, and I would love it if you would make sure that you are subscribed as well. So it has been roughly 9 to 10 days since this devastating hurricane hit all of these states in the southeast of the US, and still we are getting story after story after story of people dealing with the most unimaginable circumstances. And I know this might be a little bit too graphic, but bear with me. I have seen people talking about how some of these people in the area are getting so desperate that they're actually pew-pewing their animals because they don't have the ability to feed them. These animals are suffering and they don't know what else to do. I've also heard so many people talk about just the bodies that are appearing everywhere. They're in the trees, they're floating down the river, they're washing up on shore. And I heard one gal say that the requests have gone from needing more water to needing more body bags because they've used all of the ones that they have at their disposal right now. I don't mean to get graphic, but this is what people are reporting. Not the media, mind you. That's not what they're reporting. According to the media, FEMA's on the ground, the National Guard is saving the day, Kamala Harris is a saint, and if anyone dies from this, it's Trump's fault. I want to address several things that I have heard people talking about regarding this situation over the last few days, from the money to the response. First, one of the major points of contention across social media right now is regarding this $750 payment that hurricane victims are supposed to be able to get to meet their immediate needs. And if you're a Democrat, you're going to make up all kinds of excuses as to why this is such a wonderful thing. And you'll try to educate people that this is just a starting payment. It's not the be all and the end all. And it's just something to help these people get some of their immediate needs met, whether they need food or baby formula or whatever it is. We all understand that this is just the first payment. This is just a single payment. We all get that. Nobody in the room is missing that point. But there's a whole host of points that you're missing if you're on the left. So let me explain it like you're vaccinated. You're literally asking people who have just lost everything, lost their home, lost their cars, lost family members, lost all of their possessions, to apply for something when most of the people in this area still do not have cell service, they do not have internet access, they haven't had these things for several days, or the ability to find a FEMA truck to sit down and do the application with. And let's just point out for a minute, let's just touch on that little piece of it for a minute about these FEMA trucks, because the mainstream media is not going to show you what is going on with these things. To get into this, a well-known host of a program over on Blaze TV went to this particular area to see what was going on with his own eyes, because that's probably the best way to really figure out what the truth is. Unfortunately, we can't all do that, and that wouldn't be a really realistic thing to do. But those are the people that I trust, that go into this area, that can see directly in the most devastating parts of it what is going on. So he did that. I do want you to listen to this conversation that he had with these FEMA crews that are sitting there at their trucks, supposedly meant to be helping people. And this is kind of how that went down.
It's the first one you've seen, right? What are you doing? What is it?
Actually registering people for FEMA assistance.
Okay, so this is the check
Getting
thing.
them in the system. Not just to check things, housing, checking generators.
Okay.
Service. So we've been here for 2 days. We got here yesterday. Yesterday we didn't have any connectivity, so we took 2,800 people, as near as we could count, coming through the food distribution line and through the gas station and handed them all flyers We didn't even have flyers to get them. Our flyers weren't here, but they could take pictures of our flyer, which told them they could go online, they could make a phone call, use your app to go online. But the app was great. The app, they can go on, they can upload documents through the app, so they don't need us.
Can I ask a question? And not to stop. One of the biggest problems, though, is that most people don't have the ability, one, to even get on their phones to verify what is going on. How does people even know that this location exists?
So that would be the news media's job to tell everybody.
But they don't have power.
None of the news media. Well, I mean, I watch the news.
Well, no, the people who need the FEMA assistance don't have power.
You'd be
so how do they watch
surprised.
TV?
You would be surprised. They sit in their cars to charge their phones and listen to the radio. They're very, very well. That's how they knew the distribution center was.
Who doesn't have power won't know about even
Right.
where this truck exists or if it does exist.
Right, and there's no way actually. So we're DSA, disaster survivor systems, right? So what we actually do, we work items like these, and we actually go door to door. We go door to door and try to knock on every door in the county, and we go at the direction usually of the emergency manager, because the fire chiefs are going to tell us where people are.
Yeah.
Things are devastated, so we literally go door to door.
So when does that start?
That's way above my head. You're talking to Peon Eddie.
Yeah.
You're not talking. Do you want to talk to my
No,
crew?
you're
You want
on
to talk to my crew lead? Here, let me get my crew
But
lead.
again, it goes back to my point, which is that, okay, so I need to fill out a form. I need to scan a flyer.
Yeah.
How do I know this exists? Oh, the local media. Okay, well, they don't have power.
Yeah.
They might not have a vehicle.
Right.
So what about
I saw a lot of them washed away.
That's right.
Hi, Patricia. I'm Glenn. This is Congressman.
Mills.
Hello.
How are you, ma'am?
So we're wondering, we just asked, when do you guys go door to door? He was telling that, you know,
After we get the general stuff done, you know, we got to hit the mass people first, wherever the mass people are. So the mass people are here. Let's get them into the system as quickly as possible. Once we get the masses done, then we start going door to door.
okay, how do people know you're here?
We just got here.
Oh, you just got here?
I will say, and this is just someone who's, we got lucky enough. Glenn actually spotted it before I did. But I think even having this vehicle more towards the front of the road where people even know that it exists, for visibility, with people coming by, might actually.
Yeah, we were in
quite
a van with 8 people. I was the only one that saw it.
We don't necessarily go door to door. It's not my cadre, anyways.
Right.
There's 23 different cadres.
Oh, I know. I understand how the bureaucratic levels of departments work.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
something-
So
they don't always work
concentrate.
clear together.
Yeah, we concentrate in getting people into the system so
Right.
that we can get them financial assistance right
I
away.
love that.
And it's happening like that.
Let's see. Working on.
These are official
What
first day.
Bunch of bullcrap that was. She's where the masses are. Can't you see the masses lined up? They're not even in the right side of the parking lot. You want to be where the masses are, you put up signs at least, or your stupid little table in front of where the food is.
Well, but
And
when?
she said,
Well, but then you question. You said when?
When?
He goes, well, that's above my head.
yeah. And then,
Above
so
your
let
head.
me talk to my manager. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
And then the manager said, no, we don't go door to door. I don't know when that happens. That's a different department. Oh my God.
You're kidding.
No.
That's exactly what we're saying.
The gist of it was that they set up in this area that wasn't really near anyone or anything. They don't make it known to anybody why they're there, like even putting up a sign that says, come and apply for your $750 assistance here. And they don't even blink an eye when they say that in order for people to know to get to them is if they just happen to be charging their device in their vehicle. If they're in a spot that just happens to have service and they happen to watch just the right media clip that tells them that they are there. When they're asked if they have any plans to start going door to door or to start like reaching out to people themselves, their answer is that there's even more red tape associated with that and more levels of management to go through to even make that happen. So when the media says that FEMA is on the ground helping, it's not a coincidence that they're not actually defining what help means. Secondly, the thing that we need to acknowledge is that the response by FEMA and anyone else related to the government has been astronomically slow. Within days, there were dozens of people with their private charities, with their own trucks, with their own money. There's even people going in and out of these areas with mules, if that's what it takes to get supplies to people. Trump went out there with his own supplies and he donated like $25 million and started a GoFundMe that reached over $1 million. We had experienced officers and military personnel who went up in their own helicopters to try to get people out as quickly as possible. And these people are experienced in doing this. So the response from everyday people who didn't have to wait for approval from the government or go through all of this red tape and regulation, it was quick. And since then, they have been working around the clock. They're not sleeping, they're not resting, and they're not stopping to get people what they need and to get people to safety as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, you have this stupid little FEMA truck with these people lounging in their lawn chairs, standing in the shade, casually waiting for people to get to them. That is, if these people can take a break from trying to help those that are on the verge of dying. Not only that, there has been report after report after report of these supply trips and rescue efforts actually being blocked and stopped anytime the government gets involved. One of the most famous, well-known stories of the last few days has been of Jordan Seidhom, who has his own helicopter and experience flying these type of operations. And he'd heard of a couple that were stranded in their home that had been mostly washed away, and he went to rescue them. And he took his 14-year-old son as his co-pilot. Now, when he got to the couple, he recognized that the ground was relatively unstable for takeoff, and in an effort to minimize the amount of weight on the helicopter as they were taking off, he said he was going to take one person back at a time. So he left his 14-year-old son with the man, took the wife back to this rescue area, which was about a 3-minute flight away. When he got there, he was obstructed by the fire chief, who told him if he went back and rescued any more people, that he would be arrested.
The whole conversation and them blocking the road off, I was greeted by the, at that time I didn't know, but Lake Lure fire chief or assistant chief maybe, and he shut down the whole operation. So at that point, I felt like the conversation wasn't going any further. And again, he asked me to leave, and I said, hey, I have no problem getting out of your area. If that's what you want us to do, we'll leave, no issue. At that point, I asked him, what was the reason I had to leave them there? And he said, again, you're interfering with my operation. I just need you to get out of the area. I said, sir, I don't know where you were trained at, but I know how my training is, and I'm not going to leave personnel behind. I'm going back to get my co-pilot. He said, if you turn around and go back up the mountain, you're going to be arrested.
So he told the fire chief that he was going to have to go back and get his co-pilot, which was his son. And the guy said, if you go, you're going to get arrested. Basically, Jordan said, I'm sorry, but I'm going to go get my son, which he did. But when he got there, he had to tell the man that was waiting that he was not able to take him back. So the wife is at this rescue area and the husband was left on this cliff. Thankfully, someone was able to come and rescue him later, but it was heartbreaking for Jordan to have to tell him, I'm sorry, my hands are tied. Later, there was a video that Jordan posted that he said he wishes he had stood up to the fire chief and just went back to get him anyway and risk being arrested, because he just, in that moment, he wasn't sure what to do, but he wishes that that's how he would have actually responded, which I can understand. We all get that there has to be order to these things. Like, we get that, Democrats. So don't jump in and try to explain that to me like I don't understand that. But there has been report after report after report of literally nothing happening, again, by anyone that is associated with the government. I mean, these are the people that we are paying our tax dollars to, and they are standing by more than a week out and just barely now kind of crawling in with their efforts. I think the National Guard, at least a few pilots, have started doing rescue missions, but up until about 2 days ago, it has been primarily private pilots going in and getting people out, and they seem to be doing just fine. So it seems like the fire chief was the one that was interfering with rescue efforts. And if these pilots had waited for the government or the National Guard or whoever else that again has to go through all of this red tape to get approval to do anything, the death toll would be a lot higher than it is now, and it is high. And when it comes to all of the other kinds of assistance that FEMA is supposed to be able to offer people, there was this situation where this woman was actually contacted by FEMA to have them look at her house to assess the damage and see what other payments that she would qualify for. And this is what happened. It says FEMA abandons devastated North Carolina town residents because they can't drive around the road closed sign. It says Batcave, North Carolina, residents of a tiny North Carolina town that was almost totally destroyed by Hurricane Helene fending for themselves after FEMA told them that a road closed sign is an unsurmountable obstacle for the agency to navigate. FEMA called me and told me that they wanted to inspect my house, then called me back to say they couldn't drive around the road closed sign. They weren't allowed, local Chelsea Atkins 38 told the Post. You can drive around it by car for sure, it's not that bad. You just have to drive around the road closed sign. I explained that to them. They said they couldn't, she said, recounting her maddening exchange with the embattled federal agency. Left to fend for themselves, Batcave residents banded together, opening the roads and starting the arduous work of cleanup and recovery. Residents told the Post that they don't need FEMA now, and at this point, they don't even want the disaster relief agency to come. Of course, if they had identified themselves as illegal immigrants or from Ukraine, they would have bulldozed through that sign immediately. But what seems to be happening in reality is that this agency, like almost every other agency to this point, has been riddled with corruption and mismanagement, particularly over the last few years. And all of them are failing at the job that they are supposed to be doing, that we pay them to be doing. When it comes to the funding, it has been wildly mismanaged. Whistleblowers at the Federal Emergency Management Agency have come forward in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene to accuse the agency of misappropriating funds and generally mismanaging its responsibilities. This is according to a letter sent by Representative Matt Gaetz, representative of Florida, to Homeland Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, whose department includes FEMA. FEMA has come under fire for its response to Hurricane Helene, which ravaged North Carolina, Georgia, and other states and left over 200 dead. Mayorkas said in an interview Wednesday that FEMA does not have the funds to address the rest of the hurricane season. New York Post reported that DHS allocated $640.9 million this year in FEMA administered funds to aid state and local governments coping with the influx of illegal aliens and asylum seekers. Mayorkas said the money couldn't be used for hurricane relief efforts because it was specifically authorized by Congress to address the illegal immigration crisis. Heritage Foundation senior research fellow Simon Hankinson wrote in September 2023 that the Department of Homeland Security in its fiscal year 2024 budget asked for directly appropriated $83.5 million for FEMA shelter and services program grants to nonprofits and local entities to provide support to non-citizens released from DHS custody. This is not about the $750. This is about watching this administration repeatedly ignore and abandon American citizens in need. Yet, we watch this administration every single day pull money and resources out of thin air to give to illegal immigrants or to people overseas. They can move funds around under these FEMA programs, like to the shelter and services program, to make sure that illegal immigrants have everything that they need. The only people that they seem to be running out of money for is us. Lahaina residents got like $700. East Palestine, it took weeks for Biden to even acknowledge that these people were in a crisis. And I think he made one trip out there eventually. If you look at the border, we have over 20 million unvetted illegal immigrants that have flooded into our country. And the Democrats will continue to tell you that it's about compassion and wanting to provide a better life for these people. Yet when everyday people come out and say that they're not safe, that their communities are being run down, that they have no more resources to even care for their own people, their schools and their shelters are overcrowded, and they're on the brink of collapse. They've spent years watching this administration easily give out money and housing and phones and medical care for people who should not be here. And all of these illegal immigrants, in order to get access to those things, all they have to do is show up and maybe download an app, and they get everything they need. In the midst of all of this stuff going on with hurricane victims begging for help, Secretary Antony Blinken put out this tweet. It says the U.S. is at the forefront of humanitarian response to the growing crisis in Lebanon, announcing nearly $157 million in assistance today. We are committed to supporting those in need and delivering essential aid to displaced civilians, refugees, and the communities hosting them. The whole thing is absolutely mind-boggling to me. But eventually it will be you who needs help, especially if this administration gets into the White House again. It is going to be you wondering where the government is when you're suffering, and you're going to get a whole lot of the same treatment and a whole lot of I told you so's from the rest of us. Anyway, I would love to hear your thoughts on this in the comments below. Please be sure to hit that like button. Make sure that you are subscribed. Keep it real, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.